The Devil Wears Prada, the musical, is having its Broadway tryout in Chicago right now, and I have to say, it's not good. Like, y'all, I took notes, and I think if this goes to Broadway, which it probably will because Elton John wrote the music, it's not going to get nominated for Best Musical. It's giving Pretty Woman. It's giving Mrs. Doubtfire. So this is my little review. If you disagree, if you enjoyed it, great. I'm so glad that you did. This is just my opinions because I love exercising a critical eye. And obviously, spoiler alert, let's start with the good things. Miranda. Miranda was played by Beth Leavel, whichever one, of The Prom and The Drowsy Chaperone fame. She was my favorite part. She had the best moments, the best lines, the best bow, the best songs maybe, but really the songs were the worst part of the whole show. Which is such a surprise, isn't it? The cerulean moment was great, thank God they nailed that. The romantic subplot with that guy Christian was great. I was like, no, don't do it. I enjoyed the choreography, and the set change from New York to Paris received applause. That's it. Those were the best parts. My issue with The Devil Wears Prada musical is that it lacked direction. The show ended without tying together any of its moral narratives. It didn't really have an identity in terms of its musical style, in terms of its character, in terms of its design. I mean, they set the show in 2022 and made Andy a canonically black woman, but the social commentary and the costumes and the music felt like it was from like 5 or 10 years ago. The show did have good laugh lines and it had pretty nice pacing, but overall it wasn't very tight. In general, the performers did a great job with what they were given, but I kind of felt bad for them. And considering the show was supposed to open in 2020 and then the pandemic hit and it had to delay things, I'm really surprised that they had that much time and they didn't write better music. They didn't like write more deep characters. The show clearly had good source material, and those aspects, the structure of the show, did do well for it. But I was sitting there waiting for it to breathe new life into this, and it felt stale to me. I had an issue with the costumes that I feel like illustrates my point pretty well. So the costumes were nice, but it was clear that the entire show was going for a very contemporary approach. Feels like the costumes were designed by somebody who wanted to emulate the styles of my generation, but doesn't really understand why we dress like that. It felt to me like the costume designer, Ariane Phillips, wound up with something that was kind of in the uncanny valley. It wasn't really here or there or anywhere, and I honestly think what it needed was a bit more of like an authentically queer perspective, especially for the Fashion Week section. It needed something a little bit more experimental and fringe because all of these characters are artists, but it didn't feel like the art that I see today, and that kind of reflects how I saw the entire show. It kind of landed in this uncanny valley of a moneymaker musical. What I was seeing felt unreal and not in a good way. Honestly, the show is salvageable, but they had so much time and they didn't manage to salvage it, so I don't recommend The Devil Wears Prada.